group therapy for single women who are dating intentionally. My therapist actually recommended this session to me. When she was telling me about it, at first I was thinking, group therapy, like, does she think that there's no hope for me in these dating streets? The more I asked questions about it and I got curious, I was learning that she was hearing my experiences, the things that we were talking about in our therapy sessions, and she was saying that this group therapy course was going to be essentially that with other people. It was really nice to show up with other people who were feeling intentional about what it is that they were looking for. It was a great experience. Welcome back to another episode of the Me in the Making podcast. I am your host, Melly Clay, and thanks for joining me. This is a podcast about self discovery, introspection. It's about encouraging personal growth and development. And this is season three. So, season three, I have video and audio. So, if you're listening to this and you want to watch the video, come over to YouTube and I am here. There is a link in the show notes to take you to this exact episode. So, go ahead and click that link. And if you're watching on video, if you came across this on YouTube and you enjoy listening to podcasts more so on audio, you can get it wherever you get your favorite podcasts. So this seasons one and two are audio only. So if you want to go back and listen to those, if you have not listened to those, you can get those wherever you get your favorite podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pocket Casts, wherever you listen, you can find me there. And in seasons one and two, I talk to guests where I'm asking them questions about who they are now, who they were when they were younger, and what has their journey been to get them to where they are now, and who are they becoming. And I will also have guests on in these current seasons, seasons to come, but I have solo episodes where I talk to you about some things that I've been going through and experiencing, and I ask questions to you all about if you can relate to them or, what's been your experience and where are you going. So you can respond in the comments if you want to be a guest on the show. You can also let me know in the comments or you can DM me on Instagram or TikTok, and that's at Making Me Pod. So, yeah, this episode today, I want to talk to you all about something that I recently went through. At this point, maybe it was a couple months ago, and it was actually group therapy for single women who are dating intentionally. So, I don't know if this is something that you all are familiar with. Well, group therapy, you're probably familiar with hearing that term. So, my therapist actually recommended this session to me. And when she was telling me about it, at first I was thinking, group therapy, like, does she think that there's no hope for me in these dating streets out here? Like, what is she trying to say? Because when I've heard of group therapy, it's typically been a little more serious, or maybe it's grief counseling or something that is a little bit more dire than finding someone to date you seriously. So when she was suggesting it, I was like, oh, okay. And I'm thinking, how bad does she think it is for me out here? Like, is it really that bad? Like, what is she thinking? But the more I asked questions about it and I got curious, I was learning that she was hearing my experiences, the things that we were talking about in our therapy sessions. And she was saying that this group therapy course was going to be essentially that with other people. And so that I could be able to speak with other people, hear what their experiences are, and also talk to the therapists who were running the sessions to get an idea of what they thought it was going to take in order to be someone who would be trying to date intentionally. So there were 8 sessions, And there were several other people in the course as well who were coming to the course. Thankfully, people felt comfortable enough to be open and share their experiences. And we were able to really get to know ourselves more, which I think was their intended idea, and intended their intention for the course, basically for us to be able to get to learn ourselves more so that we could know how to recognize another partner to be in relationship with that person. Basically being able to show up for myself in this in order to see like, okay, what are the things that I actually want? And I would be able to hopefully get that from another person after going through this course. And it was really good. It was very good structurally. So there were 8 sessions and we met physically in person for 8 weeks in a row, and they were 90-minute sessions. So the therapist would present the course that day, what we were going to be talking about, and we would also, the participants in it, me and the other people in the class, would give our experiences, answers to the question. So I'm gonna go over some big things that I took away from the course. There was too much for me to go into all of it. So if your therapist is talking about if they are offering something like this, or if you've heard of this, maybe there's an online course or something like that where therapists are offering group sessions for people who are interested in trying to date intentionally. I would recommend that you at least look into it to see if it's something that you would be interested in if you want to connect with other people who are trying to do the same thing. So you won't really feel as alone, you know? And one of the things that I really liked about it was that even though I talked to my girlfriends about dating and um, doing that, that can be eye-opening as well and enlightening. But sometimes that person isn't going through the same things that you're going through, or maybe they're not currently in the situation that you're in. So sometimes it might be hard to connect, or maybe that person can only really listen and can't really give advice, or you're just talking with your friends sometimes, and sometimes people really aren't in the mode of, okay, let me show up and like try to actually help you through this. Some people might only be there to be a listening ear, which can be helpful. But if you're looking for some therapeutic advice, if you're looking for to be able to really like connect deeply on the same thing that you're going through, I would recommend joining something like this if you are able to find it. And if you are going through therapy and you are a single person and maybe you're looking to date someone intentionally, or just have come with that expectation that that is something that you want to do, I would ask your therapist, maybe see from them if they know anyone who is doing group therapy like this. Maybe they can recommend someone to you. It could even be virtual, maybe you live in an area where it might be difficult to have something like this in person, but maybe someone can recommend something virtually. So, some of the big takeaways that I got from this course that I'm still thinking about to this day in my dating experiences, the first one is needs versus wants. So, of course, I'll just speak for myself. I will say that before going into this course, I've written out the list, the classic, what are the things that I want in a partner? You write the whole list and everything. And this course was really asking us to distinguish what is actually a need that you need for your partner to have versus what is something that you want your partner to have. And it's not something that that person needs to have. Maybe you can get that from a friend or a family member. Like that partner, that romantic partner might not actually have to have those things that you want. So I'll give an example for myself. So let's say maybe I had written on my list like is a sports lover because I love watching sports, I love playing sports, I love talking about sports. It's something that I really enjoy doing. So maybe I had written on my list, I need my partner to be a sports lover the same way that I am. So maybe that's something where I go into trying to meet people, maybe on dating apps or etc. And maybe I'm focusing a lot on, okay, I want this person to be a sports lover. So maybe that is something that I'm over indexing on, where I'm focusing on, I want that person to be a sports lover. When actually, when I was going through this course, I was learning, okay, that's not really something that I need to have because I have friends where I can talk to them about sports. I can watch sports. I don't mind going to a place and watching sports on my own or just staying at home if I'm able to get it somewhere on streaming and watch the sports. Like, I don't need that to be an interest that my partner and I share fully. It's something that I can that want can get met somewhere else in my life. So, really determining, okay, what are the things that I need so I can focus on making sure that the people who I choose to date have those things that I need, then I'll be able to make better choices when it comes to who I'm deciding to date. Because maybe in the beginning, maybe I happen to meet a Detroit Lions fan living in the city of Chicago, and I'm thinking we're really hitting it off because we both love the Lions and we go watch the games and everything. But other things are lacking because I was really excited and pouring everything into this want, and then that person isn't really checking off the things that I need. So, really being able to focus in on what do I need versus what do I want, that has made it easier for me to decide who I'm actually going to date and like try to put my efforts into. Another thing that this course highlighted for me was what are my values and how am I looking for another person based on those values. So let's say there was a time where we narrowed our values down to like what are our top five values. And if one of my values that I've decided that I value, if one of those things is trust. So let's say I really value trust. I value trust in my familiar relationships, with friends, in my workplace relationships, etc. If that's something that I really value, trust, I also need to value that in any potential romantic relationships. So I want to be able to show up in a space where, okay, I feel like I can trust you. Maybe I don't know you well just yet, but so far I can trust you and I can continue to kind of like build that trust based on if your words are matching your actions. So what that kind of meant to me was is that I don't want to show up in a space where I'm going to be feeling anxious or feeling like maybe I can't really trust this person. Like if there's something that there's a flag getting raised where I feel like I can't trust this person, like I'm not trusting myself in order to be able to trust that person, maybe that person isn't the right person for me. Maybe we're not compatible. And for some reason, my spidey senses, my femtuition, which that podcast, The Dating Detectives that I had recommended before, and Pod Corner, that's a phrase that they had coined. But maybe my femtuition is going off and something just feels off. So me paying attention to what are my values and how are those lining up with how with who I'm choosing to date, I think that has helped me to like weed people out in the beginning to say like it's not really gonna work out that well. For some reason, something is off. Maybe another value of mine is kindness, and I want to be with something. I want to be with someone who presents kind, also values kindness. And so that helps me to kind of weed people out if the person who I'm trying to date, if they're not presenting that way, if I'm not feeling calm, then maybe that person isn't for me. So thinking about what my values are has been very helpful. And another one that has been helpful for me to think about is communication styles. So I enjoy communicating. That's a big interest of mine, of like me thinking about how am I communicating, how am I coming across, and then on the flip side of that, how am I receiving how people are communicating towards me. So the course laid out four different ways of communication styles. So aggressive, passive aggressive, and then assertive. So passive communication is you're not really stating what you need out of something. You're just kind of like beating around the bush about it. You're not being direct in the things that you need. Aggressive, you are expressing those needs in an aggressive way, like an over the top kind of way. Maybe you're coming off as angry or pushy. And passive aggressive is you're kind of doing both of those things at the same time. Like you're beating around the bush in a hostile way. And assertive is the way that I think is an ideal way to communicate in order to get your needs across what you need and also to be able to get that out of the other person because you're coming through with a clear, concise way of communicating what your needs and wants are. So I was noticing for myself, I can only control myself. Going through this course was another reminder that I can only control myself. I cannot control other people. And so let me focus on the way that I am showing up in order to elicit the results that I'm looking for. So if I'm showing up in this way, I'm hoping the other person will reciprocate based on the way that I'm showing up. So I was noticing that sometimes in like texting communication, if there were some kind of misunderstanding, or maybe, we just weren't seeing eye to eye on something, I might text back something passive aggressive as opposed to something that is assertive so that I can be clear and concise. Maybe I would say, so and so, I think that we are having a misunderstanding. Maybe it would be better for us to continue this conversation over the phone so that we can be sure that we are hearing each other, period. So maybe in the past, I would have said something flippant or, um, not really addressing the situation, but because I'm annoyed, I react as opposed to responding in a way where we can have figure out an adult resolution to the issue. So learning about those, and I think we all have heard aggressive, passive aggressive, assertive. We've all heard those terms when it comes to how do we communicate. But this course, we were like diving into different scenarios, different, stimuli, and then how will you respond to the stimuli? What would you typically say? And then, okay, if you want to work on that, how would you actually show up and how would you respond to this if you want to respond in an assertive way in order to get what you need and have that be so everyone feels good about the situation. So that's really been helpful. Just remembering in the text, because a lot of times text can be misunderstood. Tone can be misunderstood. Maybe the person you're texting is tired from their day. Maybe you're annoyed about something that has happened in your day. Maybe you're picking up on something the way that you communicate with that person. Maybe it's just off and you're trying to get on the same page. For me, it's nice for me to be thinking about that now. Like, okay, how do I want to show up in this beginning stages of this relationship? Like, let's figure out how we're going to communicate and go from there. And the last thing that I'll mention is the course was talking about how to understand your emotional triggers. So, everyone is going to be triggered, regardless of if that person is trying to trigger you or not. So maybe there's some kind of trigger. And You know, sometimes people don't realize that that's what's happening. You might have to let them know, oh, I was triggered by what you just said. I need a little bit of space so that I can regulate my emotions. And, maybe we could talk about this. Can I call you in like an hour or something? Like being aware of what could potentially trigger me and being aware in those moments when it does happen so that I can notice, oh, I'm feeling really triggered in this moment and not putting it on that person to be like, well, why did you say this? Why did you do that? You knew that it would make me feel this way, et cetera, et cetera. Taking that step back and being like, okay, let me think about what's going on here. Let me emotionally regulate, do what I need to do, maybe do some grounding exercises and come back to this conversation. Now, if that person keeps triggering you because and they know that they're triggering you, they know that that is a trigger and you continue to see that as a pattern, now you have information that you need if you need to be like, okay, I'm out. Like, I've tried. This is not going to work. We should go our separate ways. But if you are able to express what that trigger is and you all are able to, and that other person understands it and is able to give you that space and you all can talk about it, then I think that that would be beneficial. I'm saying you a lot, but I mean me. So in my in understanding my emotional triggers, I think the main thing that the therapist of the group session was highlighting was awareness, like being aware of why you're getting triggered, what the trigger is, and how you can work through that. So that has been something that has been like really, really helpful for me in like being intentional with dating. So, as I was saying before, I can only control myself. And this course was highlighting that a lot because we did talk a lot about how am I showing up? What are the things that I am doing? Am what are the things that I am doing in this situation in any given time? Because we can't control the other person. I can't just like cast out a fishing line and hook whatever fish I'm trying to get. I can't like literally grab the fish and put the fish on the hook. Like I can't do that. Only I can show up and do the things that I know is going to attract a fish to my hook, but sometimes I have to wait and sometimes I have to work on myself. And in doing that, I have noticed that one, I don't feel as anxious when I am getting into, dating relationships. I am not feeling as nervous about, okay, let me make sure that I'm texting the right thing, that I'm saying the right thing, that I'm coming off as like cutesy and whatever in even the phone conversations, etc. Like some of those things have started to fall away because I'm becoming more secure in myself and what it is that I do need out of someone and what it is that I want and how I'm choosing to go about it. I feel like I have more power because I am more aware of what it is that I'm doing. So, yeah, that was a really cool experience for those 8 weeks. It was really nice to show up with other people who were feeling intentional about what it is that they were looking for. And yeah, I'm gonna take that experience away. I still have all of the worksheets and the therapist also gave us a journal, which was so nice, and a cute little pen and a tote. It was a great experience. So yeah, I hope that if that's something you're looking for, you're able to tap into, and I can answer any question that you've got. Put it in the comments or DM me. Just let me know. And I'm moving on to our my next segment that is called Pod Corner, and this is where I recommend a podcast to you all that I've been listening to that I've been really enjoying. And this podcast that I want to recommend to you all is called Bad Faith. So it is a podcast that is talking about politics, the news, everything that's been going on in a different kind of way. It's not mainstream media, but the host, believe that she used to be a She used to be a political strategist. And I just really enjoy because she has a lot of guests on the show. They bring a different perspective than your typical news podcasts. And I really do learn a lot. I learn a lot about the other side, a more leftist side of politics. And it's something that I'm able to really like hone in on, listen to. I think that the host is able to give a lot of good commentary and like analysis about what is going on in our world domestically, internationally, what it all means for us. So, yeah, I would like to recommend the podcast called Bad Faith. And this has been another episode of the Me in the Making podcast. And I hope you enjoyed. Thanks. This has been another episode of the Me in the Making podcast. Please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Tell a friend, tell a family member. We all deserve to grow and change and become our best selves, whatever that might look like to you. And please connect on Instagram at Making Me Pod, on TikTok. You can email me at meli@makingmepod.com. I would love to hear from you. Let me know if you want to be a guest on the show. And yeah, I'm just having such a great time. I'm so happy to have been able to launch this video episode for you all, and come again. Bye.